Everyone knows about the crashed purple Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport. The owner, Alex, asked Bugatti what it would cost to fix. They quoted him nearly the price of a new one, so he tried to buy the parts himself. Bugatti refused. Desperate, he called Mat Armstrong, the guy who rebuilds impossible wrecks. Mat inspected it and walked away, not because the damage was too severe, but because Bugatti won't allow it to be fixed. When the manufacturer locks you out, the car stays dead. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story about a difficult rebuild. This is about the moment a challenging project crossed the line into absolutely impossible territory, not because of the crash, not because of the cost, but because one of the world's most powerful manufacturers decided this car would never drive again, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Let's start with Alex. Young guy, successful, and the owner of a Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport. Not just any Chiron, but the Pur Sport variant. Lighter, sharper, more track-focused. One of 60 built. Painted in a custom purple that turned heads everywhere it went. And then, one day, it all went wrong. The crash itself wasn't catastrophic in the traditional sense. Alex lost control. The car hit a barrier, spun out, and came to a stop. No fire. No one hurt. But the damage was significant. Front end crushed. Suspension obliterated. Airbags deployed. The kind of impact that would total most cars instantly, but for a Bugatti, it's more complicated than that. Because here's the thing. When you crash a normal car, even an expensive one, you call the insurance, they assess the damage, and if it's repairable, you fix it. But Bugatti doesn't work that way. Bugatti cars aren't just expensive, they're controlled. Every single component, every part, every line of code in the car's computer is locked behind a system that Bugatti owns. And if they decide your car shouldn't be fixed, it won't be. This is where it gets complicated. Most people think that when you buy a car, you own it. And legally you do. But with Bugatti, ownership comes with conditions. Conditions you don't fully understand until something goes wrong. Every Bugatti has a VIN number, just like any other car. But that VIN is tied to a database that Bugatti monitors. They know where every car is. They know who owns it. They know its service history. And they control access to the parts, the diagnostic software, and the authorized repair network. If you want to fix a Bugatti, you don't just need money, you need permission. And this is the bit most people don't understand. Even if you have the cash, even if you can source the parts, even if you find a workshop willing to do the work, you still need Bugatti's cooperation. Because without their software, without their approval, the car won't function, the systems won't initialize, the engine won't run. You could have every part sitting in front of you, perfectly installed, and the car would still be a very expensive paperweight. So when Mat Armstrong got wind of this purple Chiron Pur Sport sitting damaged in a warehouse, he was intrigued. He'd tackled some of the hardest rebuilds in the YouTube car world. He'd proven that crashed supercars could be brought back to life. And here was the ultimate challenge. A Bugatti. A car that most people said couldn't be rebuilt outside the factory. A car that was, on paper, impossible. He flew out to inspect it, walked around the damage, assessed the chassis, looked at the suspension, the bodywork, the electronics, and he said something that surprised a lot of people. He said it was fixable. Not easy, not cheap, but fixable. The structural damage wasn't as bad as it looked. The engine was untouched. The gearbox was fine. If they could get the parts, if they could get access to Bugatti's systems, this car could be saved. But that's where everything changed. At this point, Alex reached out to Bugatti. Not through a dealership, not through an authorized repairer, but directly. He wanted to know if he could buy the parts needed to rebuild the car. He explained the damage. He explained his plan. And he made one critical mistake. He told them he was going to fix it outside their network. Now, we don't know exactly what was said in those conversations. But what we do know is that shortly after, Bugatti made their position clear. They would not sell parts for this car. They would not authorize the repair. And they would not provide access to the diagnostic software needed to bring the car back online. On paper, it sounds simple. Bugatti said no. But in reality, this was a death sentence for the car. Because without Bugatti's cooperation, the rebuild couldn't happen. Not legally, not functionally. The car was effectively locked. This is why this car is different. Bugatti's control over their vehicles goes far beyond what most manufacturers do. It's not just about protecting their brand. It's about maintaining absolute authority over every car they've ever built. When you buy a Bugatti, you're not just buying a car, You're entering into a relationship with the company, and that relationship has rules. You can't modify the car without approval. You can't repair it without authorization. And you certainly can't rebuild it after a crash unless Bugatti agrees that it should be rebuilt. Why? Because Bugatti's reputation is built on perfection. Every car that leaves their factory is supposed to be flawless. Every car on the road is supposed to represent the pinnacle of automotive engineering. And if a car is crashed, if it's damaged, if it's rebuilt incorrectly, that reflects on them. So they'd rather see a car stay dead than risk it being brought back wrong. But there's more to it than that. Bugatti can lock a VIN. They can flag a car in their system as unrepairable. They can block diagnostic access. They can refuse software updates. And once they do that, the car becomes almost impossible to revive. Even if you manage to rebuild it mechanically, even if you replace every damaged part, the car won't function without Bugatti's systems communicating with each other. And those systems only work if Bugatti says they work. So what exactly did Alex say that made Bugatti refuse? This is where the story gets murky, because we're relying on second-hand accounts and speculation. But from what's been shared publicly, it seems like Alex made it clear he intended to source parts independently, work with non-authorized repairers, and rebuild the car without Bugatti's involvement. To most people, that sounds reasonable. It's his car. He should be able to fix it however he wants. But to Bugatti, that was unacceptable. Because once a car leaves their control, once it's rebuilt outside their network, they can no longer guarantee its safety, its performance, or its authenticity. And for a brand like Bugatti, that's a risk they're not willing to take. There's also the question of liability. If Alex rebuilds the car, drives it, and something goes wrong, who's responsible? If the car crashes again, if someone gets hurt, if there's a mechanical failure, does Bugatti get blamed? They'd argue yes. And that's why they'd rather cut the car off entirely than allow it to be rebuilt in a way they can't oversee. But here's the part that most people missed. Even if Alex had the money to buy every single part from Bugatti, even if he agreed to have the car rebuilt at an authorized facility, it still might not have mattered. Because Bugatti has the power to simply refuse. They don't have to justify it. They don't have to explain it. They can just say no. And once they say no, the car is finished. Not because it's too damaged, not because it's unsafe, but because Bugatti has decided it's not worth saving. The VIN gets flagged, the parts get blocked, the software gets locked, and the car becomes a museum piece at... Mat Armstrong understood all of this when he walked away. He knew that even if he could physically rebuild the car, even if he could make it look perfect, drive perfect, perform perfect, it would never be a real Bugatti again. Because without Bugatti's blessing, the car would always be incomplete. The systems wouldn't communicate properly, the software wouldn't update, the diagnostics wouldn't run. It would be a Frankenstein car, cobbled together from parts and hope, but never truly whole. And so he decided not to take it on. Not because he couldn't do it, but because there was no point. You can't fight a manufacturer that controls every aspect of the car's existence. You can't rebuild something that the company has decided should stay dead. So where does that leave Alex and his purple Chiron Pur Sport? Right now, the car sits in storage, damaged, undrivable, locked out of Bugatti's system. A multi-million-pound machine that can't be saved because the people who built it won't allow it. Will Bugatti ever change their mind? Will Alex find another way? Will Mat Armstrong revisit this challenge one day when the dust settles? Maybe. But right now, all we know is that this car's story isn't over. It's just paused, frozen in time, waiting for someone to figure out how to bring it back to life without breaking the rules that say it should stay dead. And that's the strangest part of all. The car isn't beyond repair. It's just beyond permission.